Hello everybody, today I have got a three-color, namely white, blue and black Reanimator deck for you. As you can see, it's full of very powerful cards, but this is just a way to compensate its inherent, I would say, weakness, because it's not a very powerful archetype. It's quite easy to disrupt, especially if you're playing against some decks that have some control elements, and if you're playing against aggro, it's not necessarily that you're going to have a very early advantage that will be able to stop those decks. So in any case, and without any further ado, let's look at the decks, and I would like to remind you that now we have got this feature that first of all, I'm going to take a look at the cards here, but then we will see at the end of this video some gameplay matches with this particular deck played in the Forge app. So here is the deck itself. The mana base obviously includes the 12 dual lands that we need in those three colors. Actually, it hasn't been very difficult to stabilize in terms of colors here, and I have got plenty of mana. In addition to the 12 duels, of course, we've got the power cards, we've got the Lotus, we've got the 3 Moxen and Soul Ring. This seems like a default thing for such decks, of course. Then we also have got 4 Cities of Brass, because we usually hope that this damage wouldn't be enough to kill us early on, because mana stabilization is quite important. And we have also got a Strip Mine. No Library of Alexandria here, because we just don't hope that we're going to have a lot of cards. We want to discard them actually very quickly. And Bazaar of Baghdad is one of those cards that is helping us to discard them. Maybe it would be good to have more than one copy, but to be honest with you, so far my experience hasn't been really impressive with it. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but you'll see for yourself. Then we have got 1 Plains and 3 swamps, because of course black is still the main color for this deck, and of course we want to have for example dark rituals, right? So this was my decision for the colors that we have. Next we have got some utility cards, some power cards. Of course, there's a beautiful favorite of mine and many other people, Ancestral Recall. Then there is Time Walk, so that we first can put our creature into play and then attack with it in our extra turn that we take from Time Walk. And also, of course, there is Balance. So balance is good in many ways. Of course, number one, it will help us to stop our opponent's creatures early. And also it will sometimes even let us discard the extra cards that we have, the extra creatures, for example, so that we're able to reanimate them later on. Then if we talk about the non-core cards, of course we have got Demonic Tutor, which will let us find the necessary combo piece, and Recall, which is always nice for bringing back some important cards, or maybe again in late game, if we don't have any reanimation, we can bring back some of the cards, some of the creatures, and just play them from our hand. And this is a very important part, but I'll get to it later when we talk about the whole philosophy of Reanimator archetype. Anyway, that's Demonic Tutor for you, basically a not to include. And that's basically it for the support cards. Now, what is a Reanimator? Reanimator is the basic archetype, a basic 3-card combo, so to say. So you need 3 components to make Reanimator work. Essentially a 3-card combo, which doesn't sound good, but the good thing is that these components are actually interchangeable. So number one, you need a big creature that you would get into a graveyard, very often by discarding it. For example, by using this, or maybe even something else, right? Or this. And after that, the last step, the third step, is to bring this creature back at a discount, for example, by using Animate Dead or Resurrection. Or maybe even, if you're lucky, to live until this card resolves, All Hallows Eve. So this is the basic idea behind Reanimator, and as you can see, there are different ways we can go about it. For example, we might have Mind Bomb, which I decided not to include. You know, just by playtesting, I understood that we normally have enough opportunities to get our cards, our creatures into the graveyard. That's why I decided to stick with that. So for example, you know, even Ancestral Recall that you play early on can serve as this card that will help you to discard something. And as I have said, yes, there is balance, there is also recall. And of course, one of the core cards here, again, in addition to the Bazaar, is Jellum Tome. So I just love Jellum Tome, or have always loved it. And here, this is just the extra bonus of discarding a card. It might actually be better even than Gem the Tome in this particular deck. But what of reanimation spells? Yes, there is Animate Dead, which comes with this little disadvantage of gaining -1/-0 to your creatures. And another disadvantage is that it is an enchantment that your opponent can easily disenchant. So this is something that is not so great about this card, sadly. But we have got another reanimation spell, which we don't see very often, but here it is Resurrection, right? And the reason why we don't see it very often is probably because it's just too expensive. It's 4 mana. You know, it's very close to what you would normally pay for some of these creatures. But I have tested it, and so far I like it. Maybe 3 copies would be enough, but 4 copies is what I currently play. And finally, All Hallows Eve. If you are not familiar with this card, it's a beautiful card. It's one of those 4 horsemen from the Legend set. The other cards from this cycle include Chains of Mephistopheles, Nether Void, and the Abyss. It's a very iconic thing. So nevertheless, what it does is that it's a sorcery, but when you cast it, you exile it, you remove it from the game in some way, and it's not very clear where it even would end up. But essentially it would be suspended, if we use the more or less modern terminology in some way, with 2 scream counters. How flavorful is that? And you would remove the first scream counter when your next turn begins, and when you remove the second scream counter in a turn from now, you are going to remove this card from the game completely, and the cards from the graveyard will all get back. This works not only for you, but also for your opponent, but very frequently, of course, you will be the one to capitalize on that, because normally you will have more powerful creatures in your graveyard. So that's the idea. I personally have cast it a couple of times, and yes, it feels very, very nice. So what of the creatures? Again, the idea here is that sometimes, let's face it, it will not be possible to actually play this reanimation plan properly, and as a result, you will only have the mana to cast some creatures. You know, you will just have to play these creatures from your hand. So that's why we have got 4 Serra Angels, which seem to be this win-win card, good as a blocker. And here's the Serra Elemental. Always looks cool, but you know, as soon as you start to own it, especially if you don't own the 4th copy of Serra Angel, yeah, it begins to be a bit cumbersome. Still a great card, so yeah, I include it. Then we have got Sengir Vampires. Again, not so easy to find creatures without drawbacks and without some crazy upkeep costs. And this is basically the cutoff for those mono white, mono black cards. Maybe Mahamotic Djinn could have been a better idea, by the way. I will think about switching Sengir for Mahamotic Djinn, probably. Just understood that. Then we have got Chromium. Flying Rampage 2, useless, completely useless to have Rampage 2 on a flying creature, but okay. And usually this upkeep cost is not that terrible. Very frequently we will be able to pay it, actually. So I decided to include that. Another card with upkeep, and that's 4 black mana. But again, 4 black mana is something we can usually have. You know, we have got quite a lot of black mana here. So it's just very, very powerful if we're able to cast it more or less early, or maybe in mid-game, and start destroying our opponent's lands. And these guys are just hilarious, don't you think so? Demonic Hordes it is. And one last card that we will normally be able to cast from our hand is this very impressive Riven Turnbull. guy very impressive because this 5/7 card, 5/7 for 7 mana, but no drawback, and it can even give you 1 back mana, so it can act as this weird Lonovor Elf creature, so to say. And there are a couple more, which we again might hope to be able to cast, thanks to our Cities of Brass, which we do have here. Yep, here they are, Cities of Brass, because they cost some red mana. This guy, probably not. I had him out once, but again, it's such a beautiful card that I really wanted to include it. So it's a 5/5 trample for 8 mana. 8 mana is crazy. There are very few situations where you can actually hope to cast a card for 8 mana, but yes, and I love the art. I absolutely enjoy it. And we also have this nice effect, so trample, and also when it kills a creature, you gain 1 life. Well, it's not strictly when it kills a creature, but you understand what I mean. And you gain 1 life, and he deals damage, 1 more extra damage to target player. Very nice. And Lady Orca 7/4. It's just nice to have 7 power, but 4, maybe it's not necessarily that good. I don't know if your opponent has 2 Mishras, it can easily block it and trade with it. So, nevertheless, this is the Reanimator deck. If you have got any experience playing a Reanimator, let me know what colors you have used and how successful or not so successful it has been. I do know that there are some more or less viable builds of Reanimator, not necessarily in the colors that I have here. And now let us go and watch some Forge matches with this particular deck. Before we take a look at the games, I would like to remind you that we have got 2 patrons now, and this is certainly a great beginning, because we are moving forward our goal of 10 patrons before the 1st of October. So our current rank is 2 out of 10, which is Harlon Minotaur, who has, of course, 2 power, as you understand. So the road from Cavil to Leviathan is 20% complete, but 80% to go. Patreon.com/mtg_Phil if you want to support the channel. There are 2 options. So now let's play the said Reanimator against the deck. It's not a secret that control is probably the biggest enemy of Reanimator, and well, combo decks in general. And here, yes, we're getting pretty bad hands. I will mulligan to 5. And even this is not good. But okay, I will return to cards. This will be Resurrection and Resurrection. So, you know, if we imagine that I had 7 cards and, you know, I would be going second, I would just be able to discard this. So, okay, nevertheless, let's just see how it works. Let's just see what's going to happen. And, okay, to make things worse, I think that I accidentally pressed auto, and as a result, I wasn't even able to keep the 2 lands that I was supposed to keep. But that's fine. Okay, so there is a Scepter, which might even play to our advantage. But again, we'll see if our opponent is willing to use the said Scepter on us. And if he is, this will be quite funny. But again, okay, let's imagine that he doesn't know that we are playing Reanimator. And, well, he doesn't. So, you know, first card is usually getting sorted. You can guarantee that. So do I want it to be the Princess or Sarah Angel? Because Princess can even give me a mana. Well, okay, so let's say that Sarah Angel. Sarah Angel will be our first card here. So I will try to resurrect her. Well, should I try to resurrect her? Maybe not, because she's getting sorted anyway, as we said. Right, so animate dead. Sir Angel. Let's see. Are we getting any kind of removal? No, it's actually quite good. Wait, 2 scepters. There are 2 scepters. That's terrible. So, okay, animate dead goes here. But at least I will be able to swing. I will be able to swing. Black and... Okay. Again, I always forget. Yeah, alright, so there's swords. And he decided to sword the angel. Well, the angel is definitely a better card, but here it's quite debatable whether I would benefit more from angel or the princess. Okay, countered my Gelum Tome. Again, mana drain, destroying my land. Has a ton of cards. Strip mine. Should I use a strip mine here? Maybe I will destroy his white source, because he has a white spell that I really don't like when this is swords. I might even be able to win here. So let's see, that's quite interesting. And I just kept this card to make him activate the scepter. Well, it's not that... that's a pity. Still has swords. And Mox Pearl, yeah, okay. Did he have Mox Pearl previously? When did he cast Mox Pearl? Yeah, okay, he just cast Mox Pearl. I mean, it's Victoria. So, yeah. You know, AI is not always that bad here. Again, as I have said, I've known a lot of players, maybe even myself included. I want to think that I play better than AI, but judging by my misplays, you see that it's not always the case. So, okay, there's Sarah Angel. My last chance. Oh no, what happened? Why can't I cast Animate Dead? Effects for the... What's happening? Okay, yeah, so he sorted both of my creatures. What a shame. He sorted both of my creatures, and now he will simply make me discard. That's terrible, right? That's why Swords to Plowshares is such a good card. And All Hallows Eve, I can cast it, but am I actually interested in that? You know, I'll cast it just to tick the box, and, you know, just to give my opponent a chance to have more mana using Mana Drain. Well, I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect? This is a control deck. This is one of the best control decks. It's maybe not the best variation of the deck, because I don't think that it has many copies of the tome, and I'm not sure about how many Mind Twists it has, but it certainly has... Okay, it certainly has a mode, which again we don't see in every iteration of this deck, but it certainly has 4 Drain Life copies. Drain Life. I mean Mana Drain, of course. Alright, so let's play one more. Let's play one more, because it's very interesting to try and get around control. I will play... Okay, so what should I do? What should I look for? I don't have the Ancestral in this iteration? That's weird. Yes, maybe I should look for Gelum Tome. He will most likely break my Gelum Tome, because I need a discard outlet. I don't have a discard outlet currently. Well, okay, let it be Gelum Tome. Maybe it's not the best idea. I'm actually sure it's a bad idea, I will be honest with you. But soon we will be able to cast some of the smaller creatures from our hand. Okay, so counter Gelum Tome, that's perfectly fine by me. Perfectly fine by me. Didn't use the mana. Here, should I try Sengir? Counter spell Sengir. But I will use Animate Dead. Why can't I use Animate Dead? Send counter spell to grave. Oh, okay, I didn't have any mana floating, so don't have enough mana for that. This is a mode. I don't care that much. I mean, more than half of my creatures have flying. So now the question is, are we going to see a disenchant or swords to plowshares? I bet it's going to be disenchant. Again, just a random guess, you know. Again, always a pleasure when you're actually able to attack. And he has lost a lot of life because he tapped City of Brass frequently. Oh, no, swords it is. Maybe there are actually more copies of swords than disenchant. And yeah, maybe it was just wishful thinking, because I would like to have seen disenchant, because then I would be able to use Animate Dead. But okay. If we go very deep into all of those ideas, I will also say that I, of course, have some spells that are able to resurrect my creatures. Again, just using resurrection. For example, All Hallows Eve, but are not enchantments, right? So that's why I want my opponent to run out of swords. But then again, he has Time Twister, I think, so it's not that stellar. Right. However, he's on 7 life, but also 7 cards. Does he use library? Yeah, he uses library. Okay, let's try that. It's pretty much hopeless. Okay, we'll try to cast Dark Ritual. Maybe he'll counter my ritual? No. Okay, so baiting a counter spell didn't work. But let's try to cast Animate Dead. Draw a card in response. Draw a card library. Draw a card with Ancestral. Still hasn't resolved. Now resolved. Are we going to see? Oh, we are going to see a Sarah. And I'm going to cast my big guy. Red Elemental Blast? Red Elemental Blast main deck? I'm not sure actually that it's main deck, because there is sideboarding. There is sideboarding. I forgot how exactly it works. Because by default, a human sideboarding is enabled, but while I do understand that it's probably better for playtesting, it's just not fun to use sideboarding for your AI opponent. Time Twister, okay. Again, killing himself with Cities of Brass. Killing himself with Cities of Brass. So let's cast some more of these. We just had a Time Twister, so there are no cards in graveyard. Oh, okay, let's try to think here. Sadly, I don't have any creatures with haste. It'd be very nice to have some creatures with haste and just try and attack right now. But it's not the case. So what can I do? Demonic Tutor. Do I have balance here? I actually have balance here. So let's try to just do a little bit of baiting here. Attacking. Then Sengir Vampire die. Well, okay, let's try this. Yeah, I think he will block. I mean, can he not block? He is on 2 life. So, okay, he blocks. Sengir Vampire is gone. We look for balance. He cannot counter. Doesn't have mana open for that. 1 white. And okay, what am I doing? Anyway, here's black. Then we get balance. Do we have? Yeah, we do. We do have balance. So I will just cast balance. So here it is. Very nice, very nice. Balance definitely worked to my advantage. And now I can resurrect. Okay, so that's important that resurrection only works on your own graveyard. Usually it doesn't matter that much, but here it is relevant. So I will resurrect my vampire, because it's my vampire. And then I will animate dead the Sarah of our opponent. So now the question is how much removal he actually has. Jam the tome. Drum roll. Do we win? Yes. So we got the achievement Mana Flooded. Win a game with at least 8 lands on the battlefield. And okay, so let's make it this deck against my deck. I mean the deck against my Reanimator. And we'll play the third game. And you know, it's games like these that are really interesting to play. Again, you understand what kind of implications there are. I usually try to just cut my AI opponent some slack, and I very often don't mulligan if I have a rather bad hand, and I usually draw second, especially if I know that my deck is more or less powerful and my opponent's deck is not that good. It's not necessarily the case here, so I didn't do it here. But again, you might get this false sense. If you don't treat it as just solitaire, if you treat it as proper play testing, you might get this false sense of security, thinking that, yes, you know, I have defeated my opponent, I don't know, 10 times in a row using this deck, and he was playing something, you know, quite powerful. So I'm ready for a tournament. No. So this is not even the first step of play testing. This is like step 0, I would say, because yes, the AI is better than in most other apps, better than what you would normally see, but it's still very, very far from your average Magic player. Because in Magic there are so many variables. There are so many variables, of course. There is, of course, metagame as well. Oh, this is a fun card to cast. Demonic Hordes. Lovely art. Amazing ability. Let's actually see if it works. Let's see if our opponent lets this leave. And yes, there's Sir Angel. So I will pay 3 mana. And I will start destroying lands. I will start destroying lands by destroying probably... Okay, this source. It is a trade. It is a trade. It always looks funny to me that the ability of our Sengir Vampire is triggered, even if he dies. Okay. Sorting my demonic hordes. This is the revenge for the destroyed city. Again, sorting, I cannot do anything about it. But we have so much mana that we have started casting creatures from our hand. And we have won. So there it is. This is my Reanimator in action. 3-color Reanimator. You can check my stream where I play this deck also in paper. And yeah, that's it.